Good evening, welcome to Ultimate Talk, our weekly look at the world of Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Yes, we're counting down to UFC 98 late on Saturday night, where the light heavyweight title is up for grabs. Rashad Evans is unbeaten in the octagon. He's the champion, but does he get the respect he deserves? Lyoto Machida is also unbeaten, a master in karate, and the standout challenger for the crown. Who wins? Well, if that wasn't enough, the ultimate grudge match, Hughes versus Serra.
I wouldn't rank him in the top 10 welterweights in the world. He'd be probably lucky to make top 20.
I want to tell you the truth. The guy is an asshole, and that's why I'm calling him that.
He never has really said anything to me. He just talks bad about many other people, which to me is cowardly.
You know, I think he's a simpleton. I think he's a bully. And these are some of the words that... Dude, did I mention he's a cock? Did I?
I think he did.
They don't like each other very much. Fortunately, our two guests tonight do. Gareth A. Davies of the Daily Telegraph and Jim Berman from Fighters Only magazine are here with us tonight. Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
I wasn't lying, you do like each other, don't you?
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Well, yeah. Good.
Yeah. We walk up the street after the show on other sides of the road, but, you know, that's...
Not what they told me earlier. Remember, you can always get in touch with us here at the usual email address, views@setanta.com, views@setanta.com, or you can text us on 6300 if your phone is handy. Text will be charged at your standard network rate. Start your message with the word views.
Right, on with the show. No prizes for guessing where we're going tonight. UFC 98 this weekend. Rashad Evans and Lyoto Machida will fight for a title. But a fight that's got people just as excited is the matchup of two guys who just don't like each other.
Matt Hughes, a veteran of 50 fights with 43 wins, against Matt Serra, who has won 16 of his 21 fights.
So we've heard enough from the two guys bad-mouthing each other. So here's UFC commentator Joe Rogan's take on the fight.
What Matt Serra brings into this fight is devastating knockout power in his punches.
So young. Oh, he got rocked. Got him big. Matt Serra with a big right hand.
One thing that Matt Hughes doesn't have.
The first time Matt Hughes gets hit, he's going to look to take that fight to the floor.
Good knee. Takes a knee.
And Matt pulls guard. Interesting. Georges St. Pierre has already shown that you can dominate Matt Serra from the top position.
St. Pierre right to the takedown. A lot of people thought he would stand up. Big ones there.
Believe me, Matt Hughes has seen that fight and has looked at that as a blueprint of how he can beat Matt Serra. This can only end one way. This can only end with one man getting his hand raised and the other man having to eat crow.
Well, a short time ago, we spoke to welterweight champion Georges St. Pierre. He said he's full of admiration for Matt Hughes and believes he'll be tough to beat.
Matt Hughes is the greatest, one of the greatest, or maybe one of the greatest champion in UFC history. He has like a 9-title reign. I'm pretty sure that he just came back from 2 losses. He had a knee surgery. He was not 100% back in the day. Now he said that he's back 100%, so I'm sure he's going to come back on top.
He always likes to take a fighter down, doesn't he? Do you think that's going to work against Matt Serra? I mean, Serra with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, how's Hughes going to overcome him? Because Serra can be a very difficult opponent.
Once again, it's a question of style. Matt Serra hits very hard. He's got a very good overhand right. On the other hand, Matt Hughes got great wrestling skill. And if there is a place that Matt Serra can win this fight, it's setting up, or I think maybe in the transition between the striking and the grappling. On the other hand, if the fight goes on the ground and Matt Hughes really establishes himself down there, I think it's going to be a long night for Serra.
Well, guys, no love lost between Hughes and Serra. These are the odds. Hughes a big favourite with the bookies. Have they got it about right, or would you disagree? Let's start with you, Jim.
Well, for my pick, I've got to go with Matt Serra for this fight. It's interesting to note that if Matt Hughes wins this fight, he actually equals Chuck Liddell's record of most wins in the octagon. And that's going to be motivation for him as well as the actual personal dislike. Hughes is very well known for training as hard as he wants to beat the opponent he's facing, and he trains up to his opponents. But my big concern with Matt Hughes is his knees. What made him so successful in the past is always shoot deep for double legs. Whenever anybody sprawled, he'd just drive straight through the sprawl, find the edge of the cage, take somebody down, and get it on top and pound. In Alves, obviously, he suffered a knee injury during that fight, quite a serious knee injury, and we saw him pull guard. I really do think that if his takedown is weakened, I think it's going to be a tough night for him. Matt Serra's got explosive, tight punches. You know, also when Hughes gets hit, he does tend to fall back on his wrestling and go for the shot. So, from my mind, I think if Serra can kind of panic Hughes with his punches and force him into a shot, then Serra's got good takedowns. He gets them from a high tie-up as opposed to a deep shot. But you know, I think Serra has more options than Matt Hughes does. You know,
and that's exactly what I agree with, Jim. And I think that, you know, Serra's jiu-jitsu can enable him to kind of cancel out Hughes' ground and pound in this fight, and he's got much heavier hands in the stand-up. And I think the you know, the country boy city boy fight here with the New Yorker against the country boy, the Bible Belt boy, is a real appetising matchup. You know, they've both got their own huge groups of followers, and I think a few months ago, or when it was first announced, I thought Hughes was going to win this fight. But the more I've thought about it, exactly the same as you, Jimmy, he's got more in his armoury, he's got more in the tank, and I think, you know, we saw Hughes get flattened by Alves in London. You know, was it last year now, wasn't it? And it was earlier this year. Was it last year? I can't even remember. It was last year with that flying knee. And I just think Hughes, yes, he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. This could be his last fight, but I just think Serra's got too much for him, too much hatred as well.
You mentioned that fight last June. How big a factor will the time out of the octagon be to Matt Hughes? We're getting towards a year out of action. Will that be a factor?
Well, I mean, this is an interesting point because neither of these guys have been that active recently, you know, and you've got to ask whether ring rust is going to play a part, and also, for his part, Matt Serra suffered that herniated disc in his back, so you've also got to wonder, you know, fighters get into their 30s and these injuries take longer to heal, and, you know, that's something that we could be in for at the weekend is, you know, how badly bashed are these guys after years of fighting in the top level of the game, you know?
We can't get away from the fact of Serra's massive shock win over Georges St-Pierre and what he did there. But St-Pierre's actually going for Hughes in this fight. When we were talking to him earlier, he seemed to think Hughes has got more in the tank. Where's this fight going to be won? Because we were talking about with Georges St-Pierre about Serra's fists and how much power he's got behind them, and Hughes getting it to the ground. Where do you see it being won? Because they're both going to try and play to their strengths in this. It's either going to be brilliant or it's going to be really dull.
Well, the thing with Matt Hughes is his game plan is very flat. He will take you down, he'll get on top, he'll work to top side position. He's famous for like a crucifix position where he pins both arms and works the elbows, works punches, and that's what he tries to do. If you can't make a technique work with technique, he's in the past been able to rely on his athleticism and his strength and just force the technique through. Sheer powerhouse in the octagon, and that's why I worry about his chances in this fight. Matt Serra, I don't think has ever been stopped on a TKO. He's very good at controlling guys when he's on the bottom. He actually does his better work from top position. He works well from inside half guard, works well from side mount, and he's more you know, we talk about this Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't think Matt Serra will submit Matt Hughes, but I think what he will do is he'll be able to contain Matt Hughes when Hughes is on top of him, and that's what he'll use his jiu-jitsu for.
Well, I mean, I think, to answer your original question, I think GSP's going on his heart rather than his head. Because plainly, Serra has more to bring to this fight. I mean,
it's hard to like him, isn't it? When you listen to the way
Serra?
he talks. Yeah.
No, I do like him. I mean, I've met the guy in New York, and I do like him, and he's just a straight-talking, kind of fairly big-mouthed New Yorker. But I think he says things honestly.
You like him, then go.
Yeah. Don't set any fights up for me this week. I mean, I've been thinking for 2 weeks since I've been in here about this fight with Brock Lesnar, and I've just, you know,
You're not going
I can't sleep at night.
No.
You know?
I'm sure he feels the same way.
Yeah, of course.
Go on, so go on. Where do you think it's going to be won then, this fight?
I think, I really do think that Serra will knock Hughes out.
I think it's probably going to see a lot of. He's got a lot of work against the cage, a lot of dirty boxing, high tie-up, stuff like that. Yeah, I see. I'm thinking either a decision or a TKO from Matt Serra.
Let's have a look then at the predictions then this week. Ben Blackmore, of course, from Setanta. We've got Mark there from The Sun and Steve from FHM2 and Jim, everyone except Mark, going for Serra. Well, I look at that when I was looking at this and reading up beforehand. I was really, really torn because I think Sarah's got Hughes sussed. I think Sarah's going to come out on top in this one. But listening to GSP and looking at the bookies, I'm completely on the fence.
But in this one as well, I'd also like to know the odds on whether they're actually going to be friends or not afterwards, because I don't think they will be. You know, it's one of those fights where they're not friends before, and I don't think they're going to be friends afterwards.
They talk a good game, though, don't they?
I don't think they're talking. I think they